All right. So one of the reasons I was interested in knowing about the Z cars was because I used to have some 240Zs. That was like my first car.
Okay.
So I'm kind of curious about what the philosophy is and the difference between the 370Z and the you had a Roadster and a Nismo, right?
Correct. So as you probably already expect, we're getting close to the 50-year anniversary
Oh,
of the Z.
So this one we're looking at, it's a bright yellow 370Z. That's 2017 or 218?
18 actually.
Oh, that's an 18.
This is an 18, so we haven't shown this off anywhere else but the New York Auto Show, and it's featured in the Chicane yellow. We'll have the magnetic black, and if you look inside, wherever you come here, you'll see the yellow interior treatment. So it's
got the little trim on it. Like I used to have other cars that had that.
So you get an idea.
You're listening to the UnCommonCore podcast.
Hello, this is Tom Howell, and you're listening to episode 14, Roadsters, live to tape from the New York Auto Show. This is our anniversary podcast. It's been just over a year since we started, and there have been a lot of changes since that time. Our audience has grown, and we have two new reporters, Ray and Preeti. The original school I started recording in is closed. The school I'm working in now is in the process of closing. So I'll be looking for a new job very soon. Donald Trump is now President of the United States. So episode 3, Boss, has new meaning. If you haven't heard episode 3, you may want to listen to that. Also, Ray has moved to Shanghai, but she did say she'll try to send some reports from there. Let's hope she can, and that we can cover that part of the world as well. That'd be nice. We also have to start doing some advertising in order to keep afloat, so we're now working with advertisecast.com, and you can find our page at advertisecast.com/1306. That's advertisecast.com/1306. Just imagine 13 6-year-olds running around screaming. So advertisecast.com/1306. We're also on Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And merchandise is still available at hugthepug.com. That's hugthepug.com. And without further ado, here is my visit to the New York Auto Show and the rest of my interview with that Nissan guy. Enjoy the show. Recaro type seats?
Yeah, so on this particular model, you're going to have the highly sculpted bucket seats. On the Nismo, which you were referring to earlier, you're going to get the Recaro seats. You're going to have a different body kit. You're going to have a little bit more horsepower off a custom exhaust system. But this was essentially is from the manufacturer, so you don't have to do any modifications. It already comes with the tricked out interior with the yellow highlights all over it, whether it's in the black or the yellow you see here.
Are they all striped like this? This has got the racing stripe down the center. Is that all of them striped like that?
Not all of them. Only you're going to see the only ones that we've actually talked about for 18 are going to be the Heritage Edition. We haven't released more information on the 18s in general. 17s are available right now at your dealerships. Won't have the stripe, but you'll get the same type of horsepower, same type of interior amenities on a base model.
So it's an option.
Yes, sir. It's an option, definitely.
Okay, so you're getting the best deal for a sports car with this one. But what about the Nismo and the Roadster?
Yeah, awesome. So Nismo, for those of you who don't know, that's going to be the mid-40s. But with that, you're getting a custom body kit. It's going to make the car about 6 inches longer, custom wheels, sport brakes. You're getting a custom exhaust that brings that horsepower to 350 horsepower. Available in a manual or an automatic as well. And then your interior is going to have red accenting that kind of goes with our Nismo colors.
Oh, so you're going to have special colors for that car.
Definitely.
All right. And are they going to have solid, or are they also going to be like a racing kind of a thing?
Which question?
I mean, is it going to have a racing stripe on it?
No, it's not a racing stripe. The more popular ones you see in a lot of our advertising, it's going to be like a pearled white with like the lip is kind of a dark gunmetal metallic, and then it has kind of a red accenting in the interior, so it kind of blends it all well together.
Right. And what about the Roadster?
Roadster. So yeah, with the spring and summer coming up, we're getting a lot of questions on the Roadster. So that's going to be a soft top. It's going to be a triple insulated soft top that folds down. Those start in the mid-40s, and you get them.
Is that more like this one, the 370, or is it more like the Nismo, or is it just a whole different car?
It's more like the regular 370.
Okay. So it's like the convertible 370. You have a convertible version, or was that a few years back? That is the Roadster.
That is the Roadster, yeah. So we call it the 370 Roadster, and that's going to give you everything that the regular Z has to offer, just without a top. It does not come with a Nismo. That's the only thing that's not available on the Roadster.
Oh, it doesn't come in a Nismo. Nope. Oh, okay. Couple more quick questions. Now, on the Roadster, is it going to have an automatic, or is it going to be a manual cover?
No, it's definitely automatic. So before you leave, you just click and hold on the button, it automatically opens up. The back panel lifts up and just tucks away nicely, neatly in the back. So it's a clean look, fun to drive. And again, you can get them in a base or also in a fully loaded leather interior with all the amenities.
And I guess my final question, unless I think of anything else, back when I had my 240Z, I was considering getting the old 2000 or the 1800. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because they were actually more performance. Mm-hmm. Is Nissan, as far as you know, ever going to go back to something like that? Because these are all like the 240 line, right? Little sports cars. What about the ones that are like the little, sort of like the small square little ones? Does Nissan have any plans for anything like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, as of now, Nissan hasn't talking about future product, but obviously every year we do concept vehicles of things that might come out in the future, and the whole idea with the whole 370Z was giving that balance of something that was sporty but also drivable as a daily driver.
Right.
So I would say for those Nissan fans, just to stay tuned as to what might be available around the corner for us.
Right, because there's a lot of manufacturers now that are kind of going back to, I mean, the Miata's now gotten kind of bulky, and a lot of like the Fiat and some of the other ones are coming to a smaller and going back to what the Miata was and what the Z was and what that little Roadster was. So it seems like the Roadsters are making a second comeback. So I was just curious about that. I love the little Roadsters. But it was my first car. So these start at base price is $30,000.
Yeah, we don't have pricing yet on the 18s. Heritage
the 17s are in the stores.
17s in the stores right now. So yeah, they start under 30 and fully loaded in the mid 40s. Same thing with the Nismos. So it's just a matter of what the consumer's looking for. Are you looking for a base car with plenty of power, or are you looking for something with all the amenities, heated and cool seats, navigation, backup camera, Bose entertainment? Are you looking for all of those amenities? We have that as well for you.
Can you add those on one by one?
Oh, they come in packages, so it just depends on. Nissan makes it nice and easy for you. So instead of having to build it, they just have it already pre-packaged for you, so it's easier for the
What
buyer.
does the base pack come with? Like just no. I mean, it's got a stereo, obviously, right, and air conditioning.
You're pretty much looking at it. So it doesn't come with power seats,
looks pretty
but
nice,
you do have manual adjustments. You could get manual or automatic depending on what you're looking for. I mean, you can see you get a nice set of wheels. So if you go to our website, NissanUSA.com, you're able to see exactly, you can build them, it'll tell you exactly what's on the base model and what changes trim level to trim level.
Right. And is it possible for people to get a base level if they wanted just to get entry level?
Yeah, of course, yeah. On our website, you could totally build one. You put your zip code in, and it'll tell you exactly where you could actually locate that model you've built online.
Oh, that's great.
So you could take a look at your dealerships.
Yeah, because I know people that sometimes when they want just certain features, it's harder for them to find it. They have to go to Edmunds or something, but now you could do it through your website.
Nissan USA makes it really easy. You just put your zip code and how far you're willing to travel, 5, 10, 50 miles.
Right. Just like they used to do, like the Edmunds used to do.
That's exactly it, so make it nice and easy.
Right. All right, well, that's about it. It's a beautiful car. I hope you guys keep going on it. It's going in the right direction. So, yeah, great. Thanks a lot. This is my first car I purchased, and I looked around at the BMWs. I looked around at. There wasn't much available back then in 2001. This was the car to get, but I wasn't completely sold on it until I started driving. But I ended up getting one. I ended up driving, and I ended up falling in love with it. But I used to have 240Zs before that. I talked to the Nissan guy, but this is like a nice small little sports car, and it was far better than the Beamer. At the time, the Z3. So now you've got the brand new 2018 or 2017? 2017. So some of the people that liked the car but didn't want to buy one just didn't fit in the car. Did you do anything to help people who are a little bit taller fit in the car? I mean, I fit in it fine, but some people that are a little taller have problems.
It's still a very small car. It got a little bit wider on the interior, so you might have a little more hip and elbow room, if you will.
Okay.
But in terms of height, obviously that's a big part of it. Tall people are going to have a little trouble. It is a small sports car, but also proportion. I've seen people who are shorter in length but have a tall trunk, and sometimes their head's up against the roof. So everyone's got to try it on.
Right.
Interesting thing about that, I travel all over the country talking about our products, and I watch very large individuals, and I mean big folks, try to get in this car because of its great reputation. They're hoping it will fit.
Right. And okay, so we were talking earlier. So this here is the base model that we're looking at, and it has a manual roof on it. Mm-hmm. And what comes with just the base model, and what's the price?
They start about $26,000, and you could take one all the way up to the mid-30s with the new retractable hardtop variation that we have.
Oh, so 30 is where they peak out at?
Mid-30s is where they would peak out with the power retractable roof.
But the power retractable adds weight and all that other stuff.
Adds a little bit of weight, yep. It's about a little over 100 pounds to the vehicle. But it starts out at about 2,332 pounds on its most basic form.
And I remember the one I had the snap-on hardtop. You still have his hardtops for them?
No, there are no longer detachable hardtops for it.
Oh, why not?
Well, starting with the third generation of the car, we phased in the first retractable hardtop, retractable hardtop.
That's why.
And then now this new retractable hardtop is a little bit different look because you have that pillar that remains in place in the back, the C pillar.
Right. And of course you have the trunk, which was one of the things that was made it popular in the beginning. I remember Toyota back then had a car, had nothing. Yeah.
It still has a decent-sized trunk. It got a little bit narrower, the opening, but it's still roomy enough. And neither the soft top or the retractable hardtop affect the trunk space. Many vehicles do. That roof is stored in the trunk, and you lose a lot of it. Not with the MX-5 Miata.
What's the name of this? This is with the
retractable fastback. RF.
Retractable RF.
Yeah.
So is the horsepower and everything and the options all the same?
Yes.
Oh, okay, and the weight and everything. It looks faster. It's got to count. It's got to count for something.
Yeah.
And as far as the packages go, what is you have the Bose system still? You're still going with the Bose audio. That was a good audio system.
Absolutely. As a lot of people are aware, Bose works very closely with individual automakers to design systems specifically for that vehicle. Every vehicle's got different acoustics and places where the sound is going to be better, so they try to maximize that by working along with the manufacturer to develop a system for each individual car.
Right. And one of the things, one or maybe two more quick questions though. Because one of the things I liked about that car, the Miata, over the BMW, even though the BMW was more expensive, once you got in and drove it, the air, the noise on the freeway, the BMW had the horsepower and it kicked in and it had the clunky sort of shifter, which was kind of nice, but the Miata was just smooth and there was no air, and the sound, you could hear the audio, the wind wasn't all over the place, and it felt more secure, and it's like a more refined machine, even though BMW is supposed to be, the engineering marvel. So I was very impressed with it, and like I said, I fell in love with it after I owned it for a while. It really is a car you have to get out there and drive and get used to. Yeah.
People who own these vehicles, they come up to us all the time. They say, "I've had one, I've had two, I'm still driving one," and love is the next word that we hear in that sentence. It's that kind of a car.
Right. And so, very good. Thank you. So we're downstairs, and upstairs you had all the normal models. Down here, this is race car version. What is this?
MX-5 Cup car.
Okay.
So this comes from Mazda Motorsports, ready to drive on the track for $58,000, and it's a
race car, is what it is. You got the Recaro seats, you got the roll cage. Everything is gutted out. What kind of engine does it have?
It's the standard engine, but it has been sealed to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with between the races, that sort of thing.
What kind of races would this qualify for? What
Well, this
class?
one specifically races in the MX-5 Global Cup, which is specifically racing other Miatas against each other, all spec Miatas.
Oh, okay. Can it race in any of the other against any other cars?
To be honest with you, I don't know racing specs and racing regulations enough to answer that. I know it races in more than one category, but I don't know all the categories.
And what year is this?
This is a modified 2016. This would be a 2016 Miata, gutted, cage put in. Now, for that 58, you should know it does not come with a seat. We want you to put your own seat into it because that's so personal. Yeah.
Right. Now, going back to the other cars, two things. First, let's talk about the new cars. It's a redesigned body, and you have two versions. You have one that's a manual.
We have the traditional manual soft top, and then we have the new retractable fastback.
And the fastback is kind of like a little Targa thing, but it doesn't really look like a Targa like the old Porsche because it's not that close.
Yeah.
It looks like more like the old Roadsters that they used to have back in the, they used to race in the 50s or whatever.
Sure. Mazda's goal with the RF was that we wanted to have a vehicle that looked more like a coupe when it was all up and together. Ever since we came out with the Miata, there's been a call for a coupe. We don't really want to make a coupe because we believe the Miata is a roadster, and a roadster should be retractable to some degree or convertible to some degree. So we came out with the RF as a way to kind of find a middle ground, something between a coupe and a convertible.
The one I was my first car I bought, like I said, and it had a hard top you could snap on there, but you got a removable hard top, which I thought was great because, it didn't interfere with the integrity of the body. It didn't look as good as a built-in one, but it was still pretty good.
Absolutely.
You got rid of that, though, right? Now you just have the options.
Mazda doesn't provide a removable hard top from the factory. Okay. There may be a third party out there that exists, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, there were at that time as well.
Yeah.
Now, the original car starts at without the coupe was about 26 up to 30, something like that?
Actually, just under 25 is the starting price of the soft top, and they top out around 34. Okay. Now, the soft top has 3 trim levels, the Sport, the Club, and the Grand Touring. The RF only has 2 trim levels, so it does not have the Sport base model. It only has the Club and the Grand Touring. So the RF starts at 31.5, tops out just under 36.
The paint that you have available in the different colors. Mm-hmm. What are the different colors you have for the soft and the hard top?
So we've got Soul Red Metallic. We've got our Sparkling Black, Reflex Blue, which those at home can't see, but it's kind of that silvery blue you see all the way over there. Snowflake White, Ceramic Metallic, which is a slight off-white, just a little gray. Okay. That's Meteor Gray, Machine Gray.
Machine Gray. Yeah. Okay, now the coupe has a sports package on it, and you could get like Bilsteins with that and everything like that.
Both the soft top and the hard top have the option of the Club trim level. That trim level gets you limited slip differential and Bilstein's standard, and then you would also have the option of getting a BBS wheel and Brembo brake package.
Right, which is the kind of, when people add, like when I was doing it, you look at what are the things you can put on this car, and those are usually the top choices. Yeah. So they're really in touch with their fan base. I think people love the car, and they get together, and they seem to be taking feedback from the drivers.
Absolutely.
Now, a couple other things. The Fiat, I noticed, which at the time the Mazda came out, it was the only Roadster out there. Mazda kind of like revived it. Mm-hmm. So I guess they owe each other a little bit of a thank you. But you guys were going to work on the new Fiat. I know I don't know. You guys worked together on the new Fiat, or what's going on with that?
So what happened is Mazda designed the new Miata, and then Fiat came along and they bought the chassis from the Miata to build their new Spider on. Now, we actually do all the assembly for them. They send us their engine, their paneling, their transmission. We just assemble it all on the same chassis as the Miata. So the
specs are a little different. The drive is a little different.
Exactly.
It's a similar car. You both make money off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And, one of the nice things is this is how a small company like Mazda gets to be a bigger company, is by sharing and selling technology to more established or just even bigger vehicle companies than ourselves. So
Because I saw that one before I saw the new Miata, and I said, that looks like an old Miata, and it looks great.
yeah.
Now, one of the things I think that Miata has is it's competing against itself, because a lot of people like to buy old Miatas. Do you have any kind of BMW and some of these other companies? I guess they have these refurbished packages where they're factory used cars. Does Miata do anything like that?
I don't know specifically to the Miata. You know, Mazda, like many other brands, has a certified pre-owned program,
Yeah,
which I understand
like
is
that.
different, but that's, to the best of my knowledge, that's what we offer. But I don't work at a dealership, so there may be
That's just
something that
pre-owned cars that they
Yeah,
cover, but
yeah.
they don't have a whole package where they kind of repackage the old cars and
Not to
release
my
them.
knowledge.
That's because it's a big market, and some people some people fit in a particular year, and they
Yeah.
like a particular year, and there's hopefully the new year everybody will have a consensus about it, because different people have different opinions
Yeah.
about which is the best year.
Well, but one of the nice things about the Miata, and you kind of said it yourself, at every stage in a Miata's life, there's a market for it. People love them right off the lot. People love them gently used. People love them not so gently used, because then they gut them and turn them into racers. So it doesn't really matter how old a Miata gets. If you keep it running, which they generally do, they're the next best thing to bulletproof if you do standard maintenance on them. If a Miata's still running, there's someone out there who wants to buy it from you.
Yeah, and they start at like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for like a ridge 80 something, depending on the mileage. And so someone go out there and they're not quite sure, it's a new first car, or they want to get a spare car for fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way of getting in. And those people, once you have them, then they're hooked on it.
Well,
usually.
absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is, one other thing is people worry about it being a small car, but I've had sports cars, and I've had problems with losing control of the car. But driving late at night once, it was late and there was some animal in the middle of the road, and I was going too fast, and I was able to apply the brake, turn the steering wheel, correct it, and nothing happened. And I mean, I would have been a wipeout
Sure.
with any other car. So that, if you know how to drive, that's a safety factor. That's probably better than having all these other. I mean, I don't know if it's better, but I mean, it's something to think about. Is getting a car that can handle well.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. The Miata has a perfect 50-50 front to back weight balance, which makes it move very intuitively. It turns and maneuvers the way you feel like it should when you input information to the steering wheel. Which predictability is also always a good thing, but also your ability to quickly maneuver around and regain full control of the vehicle,
Exactly.
stay a course, is part of what makes the Miata such a great sports car in the first place.
Yeah, because you look at these other cars, no matter how much they cost, because of the weight distribution or something, if you can't control it once the tail starts
Yeah.
going out from you, or your overdrive or something like that, it's very predictable and very easy to handle. If you know just a basic, you play with it a little bit and you get used to it and you know how to drive. Yeah, so it's one of my favorite cars, and I didn't love it when I got in it, but I loved it once I owned it.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad.
it's still a 6-speed and everything else. It's actually gone back a little bit backwards because it was getting a little heavy.
Yeah. So
Getting middle-aged.
in the third generation, it got a little heavier.
Yeah.
This is now the lightest generation aside from the first. We originally wanted to get back down to the original weight of the Miata, safety regulations and such being as they are these days. That just wasn't a possibility. However, we got it very close. The soft top manual Miata weighs about 2330.
Okay.
So it weighs practically nothing.
Right. Yeah, and one more thing I think I would say is that people get caught up in the specs, because people don't actually get. I mean, they sit in front of the TV these days, or their computer, or their phone, and they get into the specs too much. But you really have to get out and drive the car, and that's what makes it enjoyable.
Absolutely.
It might not go as fast, it might not go but once you're sitting in it, you feel it more, and it's more fun, and it's responsive. So that's one of the things I think have made it popular.
Oh yeah, it's not a rocket ship, but it is the best handling sports
you feel
car.
the speed on it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you feel the speed on like a BMW as well, but you don't have the control there. And you got
Sure.
the wind. The sound is better on the Miata, the Bose system, once you got it, the way the wind goes around. There's all kinds of things that just make it a nice little fit for people. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I got on tape one of you guys talking about the Miata, because it's a car I recommend. And
Well, thank you, sir. I'm glad you enjoyed yours so much. It's it's the best-selling two-seat sports car of all time for a reason.
Okay, well, thanks for talking
for
to me,
stopping by,
and it was
sir.
great.
Have a
Great.
good day.
Okay,
Good
thanks.
show.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm actually just walking around. This is for a podcast. I'm actually just walking around looking for a couple of other things. And it looks like this little section over here is for customization of race cars and things like that. And you sell rims, right?
Wheels, yes. Race.
So what are the rims that you have here?
We have it's a race from Japan, and it's actually racing wheels and a street wheels, which is a forged and a cast model. With the variety vehicle, which is Japanese, European, American, and we have many different design with the color choices and lightweight, unsprung weight wheels, basically.
Well, a lot of the manufacturers, like I was looking at, the Mazda over there, the Roadsters and the Fiats, and a lot of these other manufacturers are coming up with their pretty good wheels on their own cars, at least as in a package. I guess if you don't get the package, you could always get one of your wheels, but who's buying these wheels? Are they, when you get a new car, the wheels are pretty good now. Are these from older cars, or are they certain kinds of customers?
It's for the customer that who wishes to change their design of the vehicle, obviously, way it looks. But a lot of these wheels are actually, this company Race is actually offer the wheels for the manufacturer as well. So we're heavily involved with the Nissan.
Right.
Those wheels are made by us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
370.
Right,
and
if
talked
you
to them earlier. Yeah.
There's a Mazda, the Cup car, which is racing with our wheels.
Talking to him.
Yes, that's our race wheels.
Oh, okay. So if
and
someone wants to get the 370 wheels or the ones that Mazda chose for their racer.
It's the same company wheel, same structure, forging, quality of wheels, but these are aftermarket section where same company makes. So it's
well, of course they make it exclusive for the company,
right.
But you're getting close. It's the same manufacturer,
exactly,
same quality, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So.
Oh, well, okay. I'm glad I stopped to see you, because those are the guys I talked to. I talked to Nissan, I talked to Mazda, and that's why I said they had good wheels, and they're your wheels. And at your display here, you have all different kinds of cars, from the Mopar to, you have a little sports Miata here, and then you got what is this?
Ford Compact, which is a Mazda RX-7.
It is an RX-7. I thought it was an old RX-7.
But
the
it
old
looks
one.
like a Porsche,
is it the twin
basically.
turbo version?
This is
it's a twin turbo. It's a twin turbo.
Twin turbo that was converted to single, yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, those were great looking cars. I don't know why no one else, why they dumped the design. I mean, I love that car, but it was a little bit tricky.
It's definitely a collectible, and then also this vehicle here that they just changed it out to look of the car, that doesn't look like RX-7 anymore. But the
RX-7 still look pretty nice, and you could tell it does kind of from the back. It looks
Right.
a little bit like the RX-7, and the wheels help. Okay, well, thanks a lot. If they want to get hold of you, what's the website? Is there a website?
It's ravspec.com. RAVSPEC.com.
Right. And I think of all the things to get, I don't really need that, but all the things to get is when you get a car and it's nice, and you only want to make a few changes, the wheels are one of the things you can do.
Correct.
On a car that helps it out. You're not screwing it up nowadays.
Right.
So that's a good mod. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay.
I love sports cars, and I love Roadsters as well.
Yes.
And, I had 240Zs. I talked to the Z guy. First thing, I talked to the Mazda guy. And but I saw the Fiat first, and I said, wow, that looks like one of the old Mazda. It doesn't look too much like the old Fiat, but the old Fiat looked great, too. Looked better than the Mazda, actually, the old one. But the Mazda was a new car back in the 80s. A lot of people just didn't want to deal with the used car. But now they have choices: used cars, new cars. And what's the price point of the different Fiats, and what are the different models that they have? You being the president of the
well,
Fiat,
I'm not the president. I am the founder of the biggest Fiat club.
Founder of the biggest Fiat club. Even better.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about what they're showing here, and then just about Fiats in general?
Well, the Fiat line was absent, by the way, from the United States for 25 years.
Right.
And when they returned with their iconic Cinquecento, the 500, the Fiat 500, which is a car that's so legendary it put Italy back on its feet after the Second World War. So the permutations now, they came back with the original 500, then followed by a Cabrio, and of course the Abarth is the high-performance turbo version. Shortly after that, they introduced the 500L, which was a larger SUV type of vehicle. Followed then by, of course, the wonderful 500X, which is a smaller compact SUV, and the big thing that happened last year was the reintroduction of the Fiat 124 Spider, which was iconic vehicle.
Right. As far as more affordable sports cars, there was the Fiat, the little back from the late 80s, or was it the early 80s when they really stopped importing them into the United States, right around the same time that Miata came out with their Roadster.
Okay, yeah.
And they were hard to get.
Very much
so.
Yes.
But those were the last Roadsters that you can buy.
Affordable Italian Roadsters,
Affordable Italian Roadster, and they didn't fall apart on you because there was the MGBs, and like I said, in the Alfa Romeo, and there was all these other cars, and they were expensive to maintain because but the Fiat was the one people were buying before the Miata came out, and it seems to me now that they're coming back with the Roadster big time this year. And so just to stick with the Roadster for a moment, how many different versions do they have of the Roadster?
Well, they came out, the Fiat 124 Spider came out. Initially is called the Prima edition, the first edition. Okay. There were only, I believe, 170 of those made. It was an exclusive, one color only, and they were automatic transmissions.
Oh, no.
Now, yes, that was the first 170, as the Prima introduction edition. Prima edizione, okay? Then when the regular Spider, 124 Spider, came out, and there is now an Abarth version, which has slightly more horsepower, Abarth being the legendary tuning house of Fiat and other vehicles. And so it's a little bit more horsepower and a much more aggressive handling in terms of suspension components have been changed and all that stuff. So that actually in the Roadster were the three versions. The Prima Edizione. The sheet metal is the same, but the Abarth has a very famous color scheme, which is an option. The original Abarths back in the 60s and 70s, that was one of their trademarks, the flat black hood. And flat black and
it's the stripe. It's like the racing stripe.
And that was always a signature symbol of Abarth competition cars.
Okay. Yeah. And the white one that we're looking here, that's in the thing that's spinning around, it says the 124 Spider has the same. It's the same thing.
Right.
In white.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're getting into they look a lot like the Miata I had, which was the 2001, the body style, as opposed to the Miata now is a little bit more curvy. With what's the price on the entry level if you want to get into one of these Roadsters?
I believe it's somewhere around 20.
Same price as Miata, right?
Yeah.
25, 26, something
yes,
like
indeed,
that.
Indeed.
And with the big one that tops out at with the price.
There is a premium of $4,000 or $5,000 on top of that, on top of the base one. But again, you get a much more aggressive suspension, a few tweaks in the interior, a little more horsepower, and
what's the horsepower difference?
The horsepower difference, believe it or not, and the enthusiast groups are kind of disappointed. The horsepower difference is only about 4 horsepower, but
the same weight.
Yes, but the same weight. But the real difference is in the handling and suspension. Much more aggressive.
Right.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's probably got a good body distribution.
Indeed.
And does it have a just to walk over here to look at it for a second? Do all of them have the manual?
Yes.
Okay, which
extremely
is good. I like that.
Easy to operate. Even when you're sitting in the car, you can reach back and close or lower.
Is there a hard top that you could buy that's separate?
Not at the moment. No.
Okay, all right. Because I had one that had a hard top. It was nice.
Indeed. Yes.
And you have you could tell it's. I mean, there is a difference. I don't know what it is, but it does seem like it's more like an Italian type of automobile. I don't know what it is about it, but you could kind of tell it looks more a little more high end. I don't know what it is about it.
Let me tell you what I've told people for many decades. The Germans invented the automobile, the Americans turned it into a disposable item, but the Italians taught it how to dance and sing. And there you go. Okay, that was David E. Davis wrote that in Car and Driver magazine, and I've never forgotten.
Yeah, even the lemon Italian automobiles like the Lancias or something had a real finesse to them. They look great.
Indeed. Only the Italians do it that way, for sure.
So I guess that's the mystique of buying a Fiat. A Fiat over a Miata.
Indeed.
That's another one.
Yeah, right.
But they're actually, it's the same frame. The Miata guy was telling me it's
Indeed,
the same
yes,
frame.
it is. It is.
But,
But this is a
different engine?
powertrain is all Fiat, all Italian powertrain Fiat. Yes.
Right. And,
Which is the heart and soul of the automobile.
The interior looks a little bit similar, but I'm sure the handling is completely different.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah. And what is it? What do you love about the Fiats?
The fact of the matter is that regardless of their stature, in terms of where they rank on the level of luxury or prestige or anything, the fact of the matter is the driving experience is, they're tuned not to be ridden in, they are tuned to be driven, and that is the big distinction that makes them so pleasurable.
Right. So you really have to kind of drive them
to really
because
appreciate
they look very
the
similar to
difference.
a couple of other cars
Indeed.
out there.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had a Miata, but I would probably go for a Fiat.
And I think that would be a wise choice.
Now, just real quick before I let you go, because I caught you as everybody was leaving. There's the other type of Fiat
The
Fiats.
Cinquecento, the 500,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. What do you think about how are those doing? I mean,
Well, they're spectacular. My wife has had two of them. I have one. We both have black Abarth versions of the Cinquecento now.
Okay.
And you would not have enough time to hear me praise that car, how much I love it. I drive it daily. It is quick, it is fast, it is comfortable. It is not expensive for all that you get.
what does it go for?
I don't know what the current prices are now.
okay.
Mine is a 2012. My wife has a 2013, but it's worth every nickel, and probably at my age, I'm in my 60s, and I think that's probably one of the finest cars I've ever owned.
Yeah, well, they've been making cars like that. I mean, the Italians in Europe has been making cars like that for a long time. They just haven't really made it into the U.S.
Indeed.
A couple of them have.
Indeed.
But are they popular in the U.S. or how are they doing?
They have garnered a huge cult following. In the overall marketplace, they don't have a huge chunk right now, but the 124 Spider is changing all that because that's drawing a lot of new customers into the show.
Right. Now, the 500, is its competition like the Mini Cooper or something like that?
Yeah, you could say it was in that same category.
Because it looks kind of cool. Like
in terms of the car, the interior volume and all that stuff,
Yeah.
yes, it's in about that same size class, yes.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. I think it would be popular if they just got people to drive it and to look at it and to know what it was.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So, okay, well, that's great. Just real quick, because I forgot to ask, what's the engine in here?
The engine is a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine.
Okay.
And
Kind of like a Lotus.
Yeah, indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because I don't think it's that in the Miata. I think it's
It's their
regularly
own
Aspire.
Mazda engine.
Yeah,
it is not
it's
the
it's
same
a
as in the
Mazda
Fiat.
thing, and it's not a turbo, and you're going to feel the pull differently.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the
My
extra
pleasure.
time after
My
the
pleasure.
Fiat guys
Yeah,
hit
thanks
the
a lot.
road.
All right.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Looking today at a lot of Roadsters, and a lot of the sports cars. I guess I was just driven to that, and I guess it's not the good day to come. I guess yesterday was the day. But, and I have some friends that, they started off with the family car, and then they ended up getting the, and there's a lot of them coming out there now, and they're usually second cars for people or cars that they finally made it and they finally got the money and they're spending on it, So the Jaguars definitely fits in that category.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I don't want to call it a toy, but right, it's, because the F-Type is actually a car that you can use every day, but it is a reward car,
Yes,
right? It's the car
that's
that you
what I'm
get when you've made it, and either, your kids are out of the house and you're an empty nester, or you're kind of up and coming in your career. But it's a fun, just kind of a personal car. It's a car for, you and girlfriend, wife, husband, boyfriend, right? It's not a car that you take the kids, out to ice cream and, with messy hands and fingers. It's a car that you, for someone who just really wants to drive. And that's the whole idea of these cars. A two-seat car is ultimately a selfish purchase. It's something you're doing for yourself.
Right.
You get an F-Pace because you want to take care of your family. You get an F-Type because you want to take care of yourself.
Right. Okay, that's a good way of putting it. And there is a distinction between the little cars and the big cars, and the most obvious one is that people just don't fit in the little, like the little Alfa. Looking at the Fiats, the Miatas, even the Porsche and stuff. People just don't fit in them. So you have these. I guess the Infiniti. You got a couple other cars that more people fit in.
Yeah, it's the next size up, right? It's we call it a full-size sports car. And so you have enough room, especially in the coupe, for a weekend's worth of luggage. You can put 2 sets of golf clubs in there, and you can fit 2 real-size adults in that car and be comfortable on an all-day drive. And it's almost like that's part of the grand touring nature of the car. It really is a sports car, but that dual nature of the car where when you want to do that highway road trip, it's right there with you, and you're going to arrive in comfort and style. But if that highway road trip leads to a racetrack, you're going to be able to burn some.
Yeah, one of the things about it is that it seems like since it's large, you don't have that Sportster feeling, but you do with these cars because they have an excess amount of horsepower and the handling and all the other.
Yeah, the car really shrinks around you. That's a bit of a cliche, but it absolutely shrinks around you when you get it on track. It's very responsive, and it's a fun car to drive. There's some cars that, not to get too technical, but there's some cars that just feel like so surgically precise. You feel like as the driver, you're the weakest link, and the car could almost go faster without you. Right? An F-Type, when
it wants you out of there.
Yeah, exactly. An F-Type, when you're on the track, it is like an eager puppy that just wants to wag its tail and have a good time. And it's having fun if you're having fun. And so it is just such an exuberant car to drive. It is loud. You get so much feedback. It wants to slide around the corners, right? So it's something that's just going to bring a smile to your face. And that's really what the car is all about.
One more thing. Thanks for taking the time,
Sure.
but what about the shifting? All the stuff is changing nowadays, and some people like just the old style shifter and everything. What's going on with that? I mean, the 400, by the way, is the good one to get, right? Because that's a limited edition. It's a good window of. But how are you driving those these days?
Yeah, so I mean, the 400, it's great. It's going to only be for 2018 model year. You get an extra 20 horsepower, hence the name 400, up to 400 horsepower. Most of our customers are, it's interesting. It's hard to say what the typical F-Type customer is. You would think that if you were in LA, you'd be selling a lot of convertibles, but that's actually not the case. So a customer in LA is primarily buying coupes, and they're using it as a daily driver. It's the customer that's buying it in the suburbs of Chicago is buying the convertible because he's using it for summertime, top-down, Sunday drives. So there's kind of different kind of customers because you really can daily drive it, but it's a great fun weekend toy as well. And then we do have quite a few customers that are enjoying track days with these cars because that's the great dual nature of a Jaguar, right? With a flip of that kind of that button into dynamic mode, put the shifter into sport, and that car is just ready to go on the track.
So you can shift them old style, manual style?
So you can actually use, with the 8-speed automatic transmission, it does have a torque converter, but the torque converter locks out once you're in second gear. So it is very direct feel to the transmission. Changes gears very quick. You can either use the paddle shifters or you can use the stick to kind of bang the gears forward and back. But we do offer a real manual transmission. It's only available with the V6 engine. It's a 6-speed manual. The downsides, it's a 6-speed manual versus an 8-speed automatic. So the 8-speed, you have a higher overdrive gear, so you actually get better fuel economy, and we can also gear the lower gears lower, so you actually get better 0 to 60 time with the automatic. But if you're the kind of guy who wants to drive a manual, you don't care that you lose a half a second 0 to 60.
Right.
You don't care that you lose.
If you're racing against someone, you want to have it all teched out. But some people like the old shifting there, shifting here.
There's nothing quite like keeping your left leg engaged.
About it.
Yeah, it's fun, and you're going to see fewer and fewer cars with manual transmissions. That's just the reality of it now, because there's a fuel economy penalty with the manual transmission, and just because of the sheer cost of developing 2 powertrains for a vehicle, especially when one of those powertrains is going to have very low mix or very low option take rate. So it's
a dying breed.
It is absolutely a dying breed.
And the 400 comes optional with the manual?
The 400, I know you can get rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Let me check my specs here just real quick because I don't want to lie to you, but I think the 400 only comes in an automatic.
But the other ones come in the manual.
In my opinion, the best F-Type to get would be a V6S with a manual transmission.
Okay.
Cooper convertible, that's up to your preference. They're both fun to drive, but I think the V6S is the sweet spot of the lineup. The V8 is loads of fun.
Right,
the sound, V8, right? But you can pretty much go full throttle for 3 seconds in the V8 before you're breaking the law in every state in the land, right? The V6 just allows you to just use more of the power more of the time, and I find that fun. I certainly wouldn't turn down a V8 if somebody gave me one, but when I had one as my personal car, I had a V6S.
Right. Yeah, well, the feel of overall, I mean, some people they have to work their way into something, Yeah. Anything else coming out with Jaguar real quick before that's not really related? I mean, you got this one here.
Yeah, the 4-cylinder F-Type. That's the other big news for 18 model year. So for 18 model year, the F-Type gets a little bit of a refresh, right? So F-Type launched in 2014 with convertible. 2015, we got the coupe. 16, we got manual transmission and all-wheel drive. And then for 2018, we have the addition of the 400 Sport and the 4-cylinder. So it's a 296 horsepower, turbocharged 4-cylinder. It takes a bunch of weight off the front end, so it's really going to help the way the car handles. It's going to make it feel nice and light. And that is our new Ingenium engine. So that is our homegrown, homebrewed, home-built engine. And one of the first applications you're going to see it on the Jaguar.
It's a very European, sort of British-looking style, old classic, so like the old James Bond.
And when you look at the F-Type and you put it next to like an E-Type, there's actually a lot of family resemblance. That long hood, the short rear deck, center exit exhausts, even in the shape of the taillights, there's a family resemblance there. And the biggest thing that you'll notice when you put the two side by side is that rear shoulder line over the back wheels. That is every inch E-Type with that shoulder line. So there's a lot of heritage.
It's an attractive car, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's got all those classic lines.
Yeah.
They're all going for it. Yeah. Okay. And what's the what does that come in at? What are the prices on that one?
$59,900 is the starting price for the 4-cylinder. So we've dropped the starting price a little bit just to make that lower entry level. So making the F-Type really more accessible to more customers. So
that's really getting up in there with those little smaller Roadsters. They're getting up to that price. So if you're a larger person, or if you just aren't into the little teeny tiny car thing, that's the place to enter.
I mean, it gives us such a breadth on the F-Type range to go from a turbocharged 4-cylinder with 296 horsepower.
It looks much more expensive. I mean, it looks like a much more
and then to go all the way up
car.
to a 575 horsepower F-Type SVR, and then rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, automatic transmission, manual transmission, coupe convertible. It's an absolutely full lineup. So whatever it is that you're looking for in a sports car, we've got it in the F-Type.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks. What I ended up doing, since I got here so late and missed everybody, I just went to all the cars that either I owned or I liked. Okay. And most of them are Roadsters, like the Miatas, the 240Zs, the Nissans, stuff like that. But I've always liked the Trans Ams. For some reason, I sit in the other Dodges and stuff like that. It's just weird. But there's something about the Trans Am that makes it stand out, and everybody seems to love it that likes fast cars. Right. I mean, and it sort of fits. It's got the T-top, so it sort of fits into the convertible kind of a thing, and it's open. And so there's something about it that I am glad you're here that I could talk to you about it. This is a special edition. Tell me a little bit about this Trans Am, maybe a little bit about the history and who is interested in it.
Okay, sure. So actually, the blue car behind us, this is the special edition. This is the 455 Super Duty. And what they did back in the 70s, Trans Am, when they were racing, they said, hey, we want a sports car that's got a race motor in it. So they actually took a 440 NASCAR racing motor, detuned it, put it in the car, and made the Super Duty. So we've done the same thing here with this car. What we've done is we've actually partnered up with a NASCAR engine builder to take the LT1 motor out of the Camaro, which is a 376 cubic inch motor.
It's from the Camaro, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we turned it into a 455 inch cubic inch supercharged race motor. So all the technology that's in this motor comes directly from NASCAR and is built in a NASCAR shop down in Charlotte. This is a very limited edition car. They're only going to build 50 of them.
Oh.
Yep. So it's 1,000 horsepower, 1,046 foot-pounds of torque. It is going to be a beast. All the interior is custom interior, and there'll be several options on this car also. Even down to these are a proprietary wheel that's made only for Trans Am worldwide. So just like the motor goes with this car, the wheels, same thing.
Okay, now just to back up a little bit, because I'm actually a lot of the people that end up, when I look at my specs, a lot of people are kind of younger.
Okay.
A lot of them are overseas. They might not know a little bit about the history of Trans Am because it kind of disappeared for a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it was, I think Burt Reynolds was responsible for the Smokey and the Bandit TV show or movies.
Correct.
And it was a muscle car built off of, at the time, which was one of the best, the Camaro. I mean, but it was a souped up Camaro. Basically. Firebird.
Yep.
Souped up Firebird, right. Well, the Firebird and the Camaro were very similar, right?
They were similar, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But one was a Chevrolet product, one was a Pontiac product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the Trans Am was like a huge muscle car back in the 70s, right? Late 70s.
Yep, for sure.
And then what happened to it? I mean, what happened? Why did it suddenly lose its mystique?
That was a Pontiac thing. So Pontiac ran it, and I forget what year they stopped making the Trans Am.
Yeah.
But that was strictly a Pontiac, just like when they discontinued the GTO.
Right.
And then shortly after that, they dissolved Pontiac altogether.
Right.
So what we've done is
When did it come back? What year did the Trans Am come back? Actually, it's been back for a little while.
See, that would be we started making these cars in 2010.
Okay, 2010.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and we bought the licensing for the Trans Am. Okay. So we own this licensing for the next 20 years.
And when you say we, who's we?
Trans Am Worldwide.
Oh, so Trans Am is its own company now. It's no longer.
It is no longer
affiliated with the.
No Pontiac at all. No.
I see.
No.
Yeah, but everything's the same, of course.
So all these cars are custom built down in Tallahassee, Florida. All of the bodywork that you see on this car is all carbon fiber, and it's all made in-house. So the only thing really left on this car that's a Camaro are the doors and the hood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything else on this car is carbon fiber. And like I said, it's all custom made in-house down in Tallahassee at their facility.
This is a limited edition. What about what everybody else gets?
So that would be
everybody else in the world.
Exactly. So the car looks exactly the same.
We're looking at a black one now. Is there something about the color? Are they only available in black?
No, we'll paint the car whatever color the customer wants.
Okay.
Yep. So obviously, for our display cars, we want to stay with traditional Pontiac colors.
Yeah, the Smokey the Burt Reynolds car was black.
Correct, and that is the Burt Reynolds car right there.
Oh, okay. It looks amazingly new.
That's number 23 that came off the line. In this car, we offer this car in 2 or 3 different stages. Okay. So the base stage is a basic 376 Camaro with our body on it, and then we're going to offer a supercharged version, and then we'll offer a step up horsepower wise from that version.
So what are the prices for the different horsepowers?
I don't have the exact ones for each car.
Okay. So you start about what?
Your base car is going to start about $85,000.
Oh, okay. So this is a high-end. High-end car by now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it starts at $80,000.
Yes.
And goes up from there.
It goes up from there depending on what options you want on it. Right. What wheels you want on it. We've got a ton of different things we can do with the car.
All right. So this is something somebody buys. The guy from Jaguar said it's a reward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't mass produce these cars.
Right.
I
don't know what the market would be for them. I mean, I think a certain individual knows about the Trans Am, likes the old muscle car, and is willing to spend that much money on getting what they want.
Yeah, so on the first platform, we sold 77 of the Bandit cars.
Okay.
And I want to say total, they sold just under 200.
Are they still available?
They are not, no.
Okay.
Yeah. The Bandit car is sold out. So the new platform is based on the Gen 6 Camaro, the LT motor. Like I say, for this car, because we want to make it so exclusive, we're only going to build 50 of them.
Right.
So this car will go on sale starting May 1st on the website. And then the other cars, I mean, it's just going to depend on what the market demand is for them.
Right. Well, people do actually buy the cars from the website. I mean, people that buy a lot of cars and collect cars and stuff like that. But if what's the process usually that people go through? Do they just buy them on the website, or do they come into go to your showroom, or what do people usually do that are buying these cars?
Most of them they're going to see them at the car shows,
right?
And then we ask them to go to the website. You can go to the website. There's the options you can get with the cars. You put a deposit down, and I believe Todd does it 2 ways. Either we can buy the car, or the customer can supply us with what we call a donor car, which would be a car that they own, and then they send it to us. We go in and we do our makeover on it.
Does it have to be the exact same year and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have to get that car. And was it last year that Burt Reynolds put his signature on them or something, or was that this year?
No, that's last year. So
that was last
every
year.
one of those cars is hand signed by Burt Reynolds.
I see, and those are not available anymore.
No,
at least not new.
No, that platform is run. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for talking to me. Like I said, I'm always into the smaller Roadster, but everybody loves a Trans Am, everybody loves a Ferrari, everybody
Right.
loves a Porsche. It's
Right.
just like one of those cars. So thanks a lot for taking the time with me.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that was our first anniversary podcast. In the next episode, we'll continue our trade show series with interviews with street and graffiti artists from the New York City Street Art Fair. After that, Preeti and I will team up to cover New York's best farmers market, the Green Market, in the middle of Union Square. There are some good pics on our Pinterest at Pinterest /UnCommonCore Pod. That's UnCommonCore POD. Or Instagram at UnCommonCore Podcast. That's /UnCommonCore Podcast. Or Twitter, UnCommonCore at UCC Podcast. But all these links can also be found at uccpodcast.com. That's UnCommonCorePodcast.com. Those sounds in the background are Q snoring. This is Tom Howell.
You've been listening to the Uncommon Core podcast with Thomas Howell. I'm Satoko Smith. Thank you for listening.